In most countries, either you get on a bus when you leave the aeroplane, or you get on the sleeve which takes you directly into the airport. But Prague is the only exception I know. You come off the aeroplane over there, and then you get onto the sleeve, which could lead you into the airport. We're right next to the airport over there. And instead of which, they direct you down this flight of icy steps made from granite, and put you on a bus. Now, why they do that, I have no idea. Maybe they want to provoke the Micronesians again, I have no idea. So here I am, next to the Parliament of the Czech Republic, going for an appointment at my velvyslanectví, which is the word for the embassy. So this is some of the prime real estate of the Czech Republic, and have a look at that, the way the old many layers go up there. It's very steep, and all the bastions and the Prague castle at the top that you can't see because the other buildings are in the way, but it's all extremely steep, which we'll see in a minute going up. This is a pretty square here, unfortunately you can't. This is Waldsteinske Náměstí, or Waldstein Square. There's a post. Unfortunately, thank you. You have to work around the fact that the buildings haven't had the snow taken off them yet properly. It's not exactly easy at the moment, and I'm going to have to check on the map exactly which is the correct way up, because if I have to go up and then come down and then go up again, I won't be happy. It's all very pretty, but there we go. So it's nice sort of arch, nicely done with plaster and everything. Everything's quite elegant around here. Feels like walking through cloisters. So at least it's something to do justice to the fact that I've got an HD Vado now. After all, there's no point having a good camera and nothing to film with it. So here we are in the golden city of Prague, on Malá Strana, which is the little side, the little country. This appears to be the right way to go up now. Oh yes, Tunovska. That's where the British Embassy is. And this lovely bridge. Like a bridge of sighs. Don't know whether it's the same size as the Bridge of Sighs. But there's no canal down here. If there was, the water would all flow away down the hill. I can't really get the impression of gradient. Maybe I can if I do it like that. You can see yes, that should do it. I could have actually come round that way, it turns out. Easier to walk here, I suppose, even regardless of the gradient, than to come by in the car, because the streets are narrow and it's a one-way system of sorts. So Pivnice u Chrocha, and Chroch is, strangely enough, the Czech word for this animal, the hippopotamus, Chroch, which is an unusual name for a hippopotamus. Usually you've got more imported names than homemade names for that animal. And here we have what should be in every city in Europe, but isn't in Warsaw. Recognise this guy? We will fight them on the beaches. That's right, it's Winnie himself. Underneath the arches, he dreams his dreams away. Churchill, that man of the hour. And the actual embassy won't thank me for filming anything of their security, so I'll stop now. Yes, before I went in to see Her Majesty's consul there, I was just on about this chroch business. Chroch being the name for a hippopotamus of regional Perrin fame in the Czech language, and saying how it's different to the words for a hippopotamus in most other languages. I mean, most languages, when they look at a hippopotamus, you know, they say, well, what are we going to call that? And the term is either going to be something like, in English, hippopotamus, which is the river horse from Greek, or they're going to have some version of that, which is hippopotame, for example, in French, or they're going to have what the German language does, is to have it as a river horse again, but put it into German. So they have Flusspferd or Nilpferd, a Nile horse or a river horse. The Nile horse, of course, is the fact that they're in denial about the fact that it's in other rivers as well as just the Nile. It's all over the place in Africa. It's not more than just one river in Africa. So basically, the word for hippopotamus remains the same as a river horse, but just calqued off into a different language. Then we come to Russian. That doesn't use that formula. Anybody know what the Russian word for hippopotamus is? Think about it. That's right, begemot. That has nothing to do with bergamot oil, and they don't smell of bergamot oil. What it has to do with is the biblical creature Behemoth, who is mentioned in the book of Job. He's one of these two monstrous animals which show the power of God in creation, Behemoth and Leviathan. So, oh, isn't that nice? The trees and the... I think the street signs get slightly in the way of that image, but that conjunction of colours is actually very nice. And so begemot is behemoth, if you like, in Russian. So again, you've got some kind of reference to something outside of simply making up the word as you go along. Whereas when we come to the Czech language, they've just called it chroch, and that's what it is, chroch, chroch. Maybe it's an onomatopoeia, I don't know. The sound it might make as it walks along in the mud. Chroch, 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 I don't know. But it's just odd to have all the other languages around having a certain way of referring to the hippopotamus, and one language simply making up its own word for it just because it sounds nice. And it's quite nice when people can do that, and it's actually quite rare, as I think I've mentioned on other videos, that people don't coin or loan, they simply invent the first thing that comes into their head. And when they do, invariably there's usually some, even then there's some kind of onomatopoeic element that you can argue for it when people do it. Back at Wallstandskurn Amnesty again. Maybe some people are wondering, why is he so coy about the reason he went to the British Embassy? Why did he go there? Was it for drinks with the ambassador? Well, actually it wasn't. I'd be very happy to take tea with Her Excellency. I've had a few chats with her in the past in chamber events, and she's a very nice lady. Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. But basically, it wasn't for that. Unfortunately, I'd rather have gone to take tea with our ambassador, or I shouldn't say our ambassador, with Her Majesty's ambassador. I don't have my own personal ambassador, but I would enjoy having tea with Her Majesty's ambassador. But that wasn't the reason why I went. The reason why I went is that here in the Czech Republic, if you are going to be a company director, and a reason why I have to keep going back and doing this again and again is that these things only last 3 months at a time. You have to prove you're not a criminal. So there's no barrier for foreigners to come and do this, other than the fact that they don't know, do they, the Czechs? You might be a criminal for all they know. After all, you're a foreigner. So there's the Polski Institute showing its nice Polishness by spelling Polski wrongly to please the Czechs. But basically, you know, you're a foreigner, so you may be a criminal. We wouldn't know about it. If you're a criminal in your own country or something, how are we going to know? Now, this doesn't bother people in Poland. Other things bother them in Poland, but you know, you never get asked, oh, are you a criminal? They're not asking you to certify that you're not a criminal. In fact, it's not very constitutional to ask people to certify that they're not a criminal. The idea is that you're not a criminal unless somebody can prove that you are a criminal, and not the other way round. That's what it's supposed to be, right? But the Czechs haven't really cottoned on to that too strongly. For them, it's pure, you know, common sense, as the famous Czech expression. You know, obviously a person could be a criminal, and therefore we want them to tell us that they're not a criminal. And if they can honestly tell us that they're not a criminal, then they can't be a criminal. That's common sense, Czech-wise. So I'm not giving much of an advert for this country, am I, at the moment? Never mind. But if the scenery doesn't do it, then the business climate certainly shouldn't. So basically, the thing you have to do is you have to go to your own embassy, which in my case, of course, is a British embassy, and get them to prove that you're not a criminal. Which of course leaves Britain with a bit of a problem, because our government doesn't go around saying, hey, you're a criminal unless we can prove you're not one. So therefore all they do is they make you swear, hey, I'm not a criminal, and they're saying, alright then, I've got no basis to doubt your word, and they give you your certificate saying that you're not a criminal. So it all makes an awful lot of sense, as you can tell. It makes nice money for the consular. I don't think there's any confidentiality, this is public information, that this thing costs 1,650 crowns, which is, well, I don't know, work it out, it's 25 crowns to the euro. Make sure you get a receipt, that's all I can say. You can get a nice meal for that, that's for sure. And so it's a nice earner for all the consulates, of course. And so, you know, and the Czechs feel happier knowing that everything's done in, you know, in an official way with the official government representatives of the person. And they don't see a person as just a person; they see him as a, you know, part of his nation. This is something that I just can't get along with. I'd rather think of myself as a human being than a member of a nation. Nations didn't always exist. Some people only got a nationality 200 years ago, and I think that we were all an awful lot better before we got to that stage, really. It was okay, there was a bit more entropy, there was, you know, you didn't know whether you were going to be able to travel to a place and then pay a bunch of taxes when you got there, or if going through Germany, which principalities you could, you know, because there was about 1,000 little Germanys at one point, before real Germany happened. Thank you. And so you never really know. This is not where I need to be, is it? Is it? I don't think it is. I'll have to find out. There's me going on and on as though I had a non-HD camera. I better stop, hadn't I? I managed to get there and back on the same tram ticket. The tram tickets last 75 minutes from when you validate them. And so I'm within that time quite comfortably, as I was in and out of that consular office within about 5 minutes, I think. I'll say that for them, they're efficient, not like your usual government offices you find. There's a queue for half a day and all that nonsense. There should be penalties that you have to pay to the punters if you're a government office and you can't process people in the minimum period of time. After all, that's costing people money and it's not necessary. But today, in the British one, it was all fine and dandy, as they say. So there we are, looking down on the Volta. This side is just this very big steep hill up there. Unfortunately, on that side, looking over there, there's no scratches on the window, which is not usual for a tram. Usually most of the windows are scratched to smithereens in this city. They don't seem to have much respect for their infrastructure. So, in the main, I'm pretty happy, really. I mean, it's no skin off my nose to have an hour and a half out of the office, going to a nice part of Prague, paying out money that I'm going to have refunded anyway by the business, and I mean, it's all very well. For me personally, it's nothing, no skin off my nose, as they say, but it's just a little bit silly, I just thought. Because at the end of the day, nobody is really checking whether I've got a criminal record in Poland, for example, which is where I live. Or I could be on the list of people disqualified to do business. I'm not, but I could be, and I don't think that the checks that they have in place would actually catch me out. So it's just an empty check made to make people feel uncomfortable about it if they're not playing the game, but probably wouldn't catch them anyway, in my opinion. A kind of vaporware control, as it were. You can see Prague cast in the distance.